Okay, good evening, everybody. So today, first of all, thank you for arranging all this, especially Rich and Pamela for arranging all this. And also, today I thought it good to start it with something which is very general, which included all the Buddhist, some of Buddhist thoughts and ideas. And because many of maybe not familiar with the Buddhist concept before. I mean, the Buddhist in the sense the Tibetan tradition, in particular, general in Buddhism, and particularly, and then they may not have a serious also practitioner who are beginner also. So I thought that first we will go through the outlook of the some of things that we can generally helpful for us. Not people are not looking Buddhism as like for enlightenment, benefit for self-liberation or enlightenment, but it's a more like how can Buddhism help me in daily life. And also one of the most key concept for everybody is especially for death and impermanent nature with our relationship with our life itself. So through this, I will throw out some of the things that may be helpful for everybody, and then we also go a little bit more detail on detail on the some of the Buddhist main philosophical aspects and Buddhist beliefs and Buddhist thoughts.
哇，大家晚安。那先谢谢安排这场盛会的瑞 c 师兄还有贝莫师姐。那我今天要做的呢，就是为大家概略性的解说佛法的一些概念，因为我想可能不是很多人都很熟悉佛法，或者是特别是藏传佛法。那这其中可能有些是初学者。所以呢，我今天想要讲的课程内容呢，就是给大家一些佛法的概括性的概念，然后是对大家有帮助的，就比较不会特别说到说哦，就是把它视为说我们是为了要成佛、获得正悟，或者是为了要求自己解脱，而是重点会放在就是我们如何应用佛法在日常生活中。那我会提到的主题呢，就包括无常。还有每个人都会遇到的死这个很重要的概念。那我希望这些呢是可以帮助到每个人的概念。那对于我今天讲课的内容的某些部分呢，我也会在讲到那些主题的时候，再做一些更深入、更详细的讲解，然后为大家就是帮助大家了解佛法的一些哲学概念，或者是这个信仰本身。That's okay.
And in actually, as a being a woman, particularly in the us in modern world, and sometimes even we are practitioner, even we are monks, sometimes a Buddhist concept, if we go detail and more philosophical, it will not helpful unless you are so familiar with the Buddhist teachings. So the idea that practice of spiritual, follow the spiritual normally comes, especially in the West or in this modern world, we are looking at, like temporary and, this life's benefit, or what if I practice, what I can get. Mostly about, if I go to temple, I may have, good health, or success in my life, success in my relationship, and more prosperity. So these are the fundamental thinking and fundamental, hopes and expectation for the spiritual, for to follow spiritual in general. I'm not saying the serious practitioner. So therefore, you know, many years ago, I come across the book which written by one of the Tibetan Lama living in the USA. He illustrated his life as example, and then he presented the Buddhism for the Westerner, how its benefit, since many of the Westerner in those days not believe in the life after death, and also maybe they are not believe in the enlightenment itself. So he put this, and I like the title of the book. It says a good living and good death. So I thought I read that, and it found very interesting. But he share most of the Buddhist thoughts and philosophy and the Buddha's teachings, especially fundamental teachings. So I thought that that's why I thought that I make some kind of outlines for this, and then I share some of the Buddhist teachings. So here at basically I wrote that maybe you get the handout, the Dharma practice for good living and good death. So today what I do, we go through all those topics, and then maybe in future, if we interest, then we will go more detail on this. This is for general, okay, very general. So the understanding and the life and death in the Buddhist context is very important, whether you believe in the life after death or not. Because there's two things that we look at this in the Buddhist perspective. And one is living, why we are alive, how the Buddhism or how the spiritual helps me. And second thing, especially in Taiwanese and then Tibetan and Vietnamese, we always believe life after death. So, and especially after the, why we are living, how we can prepare for death, and then why death is so important for us. So living and death, why we are living, what we can do, and how can I benefit myself from spiritual practice in general, and particularly in Buddhism. And second thing is why we die, then how we can benefit to practice Buddhism, and then how can I die more peacefully in sense. And also death is in Buddhism is very crucial transition from next life. Even there's even we are very negative person in why we are alive, then somehow with the Buddhist help, somehow some conditional things arise because of certain conditions. People might be have develop a positive thinking, like genuine compassion, or like that also lead us to born in the good places. So what that indicate is time of death is very crucial for us to prepare now. When we talk about the death, it is not about thinking miserable, like not trying to make us afraid, but look the death as a opportunity, or death as a opportunity where we can give a condition to take a good rebirth, I can say. So therefore we will discuss a little bit about how the Buddhism benefit me while alive, and how can I prepare for death and benefit me while I'm dying. And then this will lead us to, oh, okay, if I will die in this manner with the help of my spiritual practice, then I may have a better opportunity, better rebirth in my next lives. So this context, we will go through some of the Buddhist foundational philosophical ideas. Yeah.
好，那基本上身为人，那除了就是 某些修行人或者是说出家僧众之外，他们会学习一些比较深入的、深刻的佛学的概念，但是呢，大部分的佛教徒或者是说对于西方的弟子来说，他们进入这个灵性的修持，或者是开始做佛教的修持，他们大部分想的呢都是暂时的利益或者是此世的利益。就例如，他们可能会想说，那如果我去亲近一间寺庙，我去寺庙里面参访或供养，那是否就可以让我有比较健康，然后事业或人际上比较成功，或者是会比较有财富？那很多人的想法是这样子的，他们并不是比较严肃或认真的修持者。那很多年前，我曾经看到了一本由就是藏传的喇嘛所写的一本英文的书。那这位喇嘛呢，住在美国的纽约，他也有很多西方的弟子。但他写这本书呢，是想要帮助那些西方人，因为在那个时候呢，很多的西方人呢，他们其实对于生跟死的概念呢，其实并不太承许或熟悉，那更不用说就是包括成佛了。那这本书的标题呢是善生跟善终，也就是 good life and good living and good death。那我觉得呢，这本书写得非常的好，因为它分享了很多基本的佛学的概要。那这就是为什么我今天也采取使用这个修持佛法善生善终来作为我今天讲课的题目。那因为呢，我觉得就是嗯，对于佛法能够怎么帮助我们在日常生活中，然后还有在临死时，以及在死的当下，我们要如何的死，这些都非常的重要。那我今天的打算呢是，呃把今天这个投影片里面的标题或者是这些大点都带过。那如果大家对于某些主题有兴趣，我们将来还可以再做更详细的讲。那在第一张投影片里面，我们有提到说佛教的生死观。那这个生死呢，对我们来说其实是每个人都无法避免的。那特别对于台湾人、西藏人，还有像越南人等等，那大家都其实都有意识到生死这件事。那我们在活着的时候，会去思考说，那我为什么活着？我要怎么活才会活得好？那我死亡的时候，那应该我在活着的时候要怎么为我死亡做准备？所以很多人呢就会开始走向做灵性的学习，特别是来学习佛教。那我希望我的今天的内容呢，可以帮助大家去了解到说，那我死的时候可以怎么死的平静，就是在活的时候就为死做准备。那死时的平静呢，帮助我为来生，然后获得一个更好的来生做准备。因为呢，在死的时候，我们可以去改变一些因缘，即使平时生活都是抱着负面心态活着的人，他在死的时候，他可能也可以保持比较正面的心态，然后这样就让他有更好的、更多的机会可以来世得到更好的来生。那我在这里要谈到，就是死亡，并不是希望大家对于死亡感到害怕，而是去谈说我们在死的时候怎么样为临死的时候做准备，让大家可以战死。那只要能够善死，那即使平常有负面心态的人，他在面临死亡的时候，只要能够做到善死，那他就可以有更多的机会，可以有更好的来生。所以总的来说，我今天的课希望教大家活的时候好好的活，好好的善生。那活的时候为死时做准备，那做临死的时候有了好的准备，那我们投入下一世投生的时候，就会有更好的机会，有更好的来生。那
Okay, so now first we will discuss about why we are living. So we also need to understand what conditions, what are kind of living condition we having. I'm not talking about or living condition in the sense that, you know, your financial things and your health wise. It's not about that. And spiritually, if we look at the different perspective in the larger view about our life, then we have to know some of the foundation that Buddhists at called, you know, what the or living, you know, the life when we are alive, what are conditions, what are the nature of our life itself. So number one is the foundation of the practice, and number one we have to think about it is the life is impermanent. Everybody knows in growth in level, life is impermanent. So here the understanding of changing nature of all phenomena is very important. And then recognizing that death is natural and inevitable. Everybody has to go through this, whether you are educated, non-educated, or whether you are rich or poor, everybody go through this. And then if we understand this naturally it teach us to appreciate each and every moment. And if you go a little bit deeper into Buddhist philosophy, and then it will also teach us to look at this. If we learn about the impermanent nature, and then it will lead us to understanding more about the law of causality, means, you know, how this impermanent nature comes. Then it will be teach us to see the causes and conditions. These changes and impermanence comes because of causes and conditions. And if you look at the in our daily life, especially all the things in ready-made things, we always look for the expiration, like if you go to the supermarket to buy things, and first we look at before we purchase, we look at the expiration date, you know. So expiration date, why we look for this? Because they created with the causes, with the conditions and the causes, they make this last long for certain things, because the causes, the condition preserved or sustain the object for a certain period of time. So because it's dependent on the causes and conditions, so it will give us more glimpse in the causes and conditions. And then it will be, once we know that, then we will be preciously use is rather than waste. We will be really cherish, and it will use properly as long as it's life. And therefore, and then we can avoid other things, lot of other, you know, unnecessary thinkings, like, you know, we are why we are alive. We waste many of our resources and our precious time for something which doesn't benefit us. And then also we have to, in Buddhism, also we says we have to, what conditions of our life existence itself is, we call the unsatisfactory nature, or we can say it's the suffering nature. So when we normally, people who have no idea about Buddhism, they don't like to hear oh, this is suffering nature. They think we are talking about the miserable thoughts. Oh, why we are not projecting our life is more peaceful and joyful, happy. You know, it's not about that. We are looking the reality of our life and existence. So here we have to understand, better understanding about the unsatisfactoriness or unsatisfactory nature, which means the suffering nature of our existence. So here the suffering nature of existence, also we have to accept life challenges without aversions. Normally, you know, automatically, if you have uncomfortable things happens, like parting or death or failure in relationship, failure in the our job, or these changes brings a very, very it brings a lot of suffering. It brings a lot of you know, frustrations and stress for us. This because we didn't. Normally, when we say people about impermanence, everybody know the suffering. When we talk about suffering, then we always look at this as you know, like something that brings us unpleasant things. So we are not invoking the unpleasant or misery of our life. We are just projecting what is the reality, what is the truth of our existence. Then we can accept that. Oh, like Nobody will complain to go to eat the restaurants. Nobody complain for go to the restroom to use restrooms, because we know this is a part of things, and that's a nature. So likewise, so when we understand the suffering nature, then it will be lead us to accept and live the life more meaningful and peaceful. So here, understanding that, and then it will be, once we understanding the suffering nature, it will glimpse us, lead us into the Buddhism. We call this, especially when we learn about it in suffering, there's three kinds of suffering: suffering of suffering, suffering of generally, suffering of suffering, and suffering of change, and suffering, pervasive suffering. So this will, when we reflected on these things, then automatically it lead us to look at more closer over, like why it's like that, and then it will lead us to look for we can say look for escaping this existence, which lead us to develop a kind of, we call this Buddhist, we call renunciations. And then renunciation, you started fading up about your own existence. Oh, life is like this, life is like, so I don't want to live this, or want to born again in this kind of existence. Is there an option that I might be fine to free from this? And then you look for the nirvana, or liberation, or enlightenment. So this is not just this is not about understanding about the existence, but it gives us opportunity to write the question to avoid these things, and then also understanding about developing something new perspective like renunciations. So this is one crucial things. And then this third one is also very important. It's this most crucially important. No self, sometimes says Buddhism, we call this emptiness. And this also teach us about, when we understand this, then we will understand that over suffering nature, the unsatisfactoriness come from due to not understanding about no self. So no self, it doesn't mean that nothing is exist. We're saying something exists, but it's dependently exist. Not exist, what is it? There's no intrinsic nature. There's no independent existence. So no independent existence. So normally, over why we are perceiving all phenomena, including self, then always we perceive it is as an intrinsic nature or independent self. Independent self lead us to raise all the afflicted emotion, including 84,000 afflicted emotion in general, particularly that categorized into three main the afflicting emotion. We call these three poisons. Everybody know these three poisons, like ignorance, attachment, and aversions. Once we understand this, and then it's very, very, I mean, like very easy for us to deal with. So this is the basic foundations. Then normally we add another ones. So beginner, it's important to live this life peacefully. We have to understand these three. And then after once we understand these three, and then we will see the possibility of called nirvana, or the liberation, or the moksha. This will come understanding all these three, and then you will see the cessation of the suffering. Cessation of the suffering is nothing. It is it's not, we put this as like the nirvana or the liberation, but it's actually the cessation of the sufferings. So cessation of the suffering or liberation comes after you understand these three. So sometimes they call this four grace seals. But as generally, it's very important for us to understand these three foundational practice to understand our existence, why we are alive, what are our conditions, where the problem comes from. it is number one is you have to understand this is the impermanent nature of our existence itself, and the second, how much we appreciate, how much luxury life we have, but it is the nature of the suffering. It is an unsatisfactory nature. Third one is called, because this is all come from not understanding the non-self, or not understanding the independent nature of existence. Independent nature of existence, no, interdependent nature of existence. So these three are important. And then once we understand this, then we will be look for, living well through Dharma. Well through Dharma means basically Dharma is actions. Okay, maybe I'm saying too much, so sorry.
It's okay。好，那首先我们要先进到那个修行基础的部分，也就是第3章投影片，就是我们来讨论一下我们现在活的时候的状况。那我们不是，我就是在这里不是要在讨论说那健康状况如何，财务状况如何，而是从一个大范围的比较广的角度来谈大家的那个心灵的状况如何。那从佛法的角度，我们会怎么来谈我们现在的活的状况？那首先呢，在修行基础这里，我们谈到三法印。那第一个呢，就是要去了解到说诸行无常，也就是一切的现象它都是无常的。那这里呢，不管是一切现象都是无常，因为它是由因缘变化所生，所以呢，所有的人他都到最后一定会死，死是必然的。不管是有钱人还是穷人，或者是受教育跟没受教育的人，到最后都一定会死亡。所以我们应该要去珍惜每一个活着的当下，因为每一个活着的当下都是非常珍贵的。那因为一切都是无常，那无常观可以帮助我们了解因果的道理，也就是为什么什么是无常，就是一切其实都在刹那刹那变化。那所以呢，因为它是因缘和合而成，所以它是无常，它必定会改变。一切事情呢就会带来挑战，因为它不能够如我们心中所想。那我们通常呢，却会因为执着，然后导致我们的苦恼。例如说呢，我们去超市的时候，我们就会有执着说，一定要去买什么样的东西。可是即使是超市里面的物品，也提醒我们无常观。因为呢，超市里面的物品呢，也是由因缘和合而成。我们去看的时候，也会看到说，某些物品很清楚的标示了有效期限，所以事情呢，这些东西呢，其实它也会改变，然后它一定也会有终止的时候，就如同我们的生命也会终止一样，我们的生命也是有有效期限的，所以我们应该要去把握着每一刻我们活着的当下。否则呢，其实我们会有很多的时候呢，都浪费在不重要的资源上，或者浪费在很多的时间，会在一些对我们其实并没有帮助的事情上。但是呢，佛法告诉我们说，呃，一切法其实它的本质都是苦。那所谓在这里讲到苦呢，并不是好像就是有些人他不愿意接触佛教，其实他就是因为觉得说啊，佛教每天都在谈苦，让我觉得我也很苦这样子。可是呢，苦是真实的状况，那我们要去接受说，它其实就是苦，我们才能够平静的去过这样子的生活。只有在了解说真实的状况，它其实就是苦，我们才能够去接受这些不确定，然后接受这些挑战，呃，而不是在谈说哦，我们当然会经历一些分离，会经历失败，会经历死亡，工作上的不如意等等，那这些都是苦，也会带给我们压力，也会让我们沮丧。但是呢，只要事情是无常，它就一定会带来。所以呢，去了解这样子的真实情况，我们就比较能够去接受这些苦。就像我们 每个人都需要去上厕所，可是我们却很少人抱怨说要去上厕所这件事，因为上厕所这件事是真实必须要接受的现实。那在佛教里面会提到三种苦，也就是苦苦、坏苦跟一切周遍行苦。那我们在谈的时候，就是我们轮回中的这个生活，其实就是由这三种苦所包围着。那在了解到说我们的生活其实就是苦的本质之后，我们会去想，那为什么我们要受这样子的苦？那这个苦是不是有办法出离？能不能出离这样子的苦？所以这种了解自己在受苦的这种认知呢，可以帮助我们去培养出renunciation，就是出离心。我们会希望自己不要再投生在这样子的苦的状态。那我们是否有这样子的机会或选择？这时候我们就会去想要寻找一个涅槃的状态、觉悟的状态，或者是解脱的状态。那我们会去找说，我要怎么样能够避免在投生在苦之中？那我们就会去看到说，好，我们会受苦是因为我有错误的执着，我以为一切法都是有我的，有一个独立存在的一个我存在。那我们没有无我的概念，无我呢，通常在佛法的名相里面会提到就是空性。那因为我们以为一切它都是不需要互相依存，不需要互相关待，它可以独立的存在，所以呢，我们就会执着，然后就会受苦。但是呢，我们的这些84000种烦恼，其实就是由于我们执着有我而生气。那这些84000种烦恼呢，又可以在就是总归来说呢，其实就是三种主要的烦恼，也就是我们平常说的三毒：贪嗔痴三毒。那如果我们可以了解到说，其实是有办法去证得无我，然后我们的苦其实是因为我们执着有我才生气，那我们就其实可以迈向呃四法印的第四法印。那这边的投影片只写到三法印，那其实是因为呢，我们现在生活的状况其实就是包含在这三法印之中。那因为了解了三法印，我们就可以比较容易的跟平静的去过我们现在的生活，也会随着带到我们去希望得到第四的法印，就是涅槃寂静，也就是苦的完全止息。所以呢，一开始提到这三法印呢，就是要去提醒大家，首先大家可能会去想说，好，我为什么活成这样子？那我活成这样子的状况是什么样子呢？是因为我是处在一个无常的状态里。那这个无常的状态的本质是什么呢？它是一个呃不让人不能够满意，不能够圆满，然后永远都是苦的一个本质。那我要怎么样从这样子的一个不圆满、不如意的本质、苦的本质里面解脱呢？那就是必须要证得诸法无我，我才能够达到最后的活得很好的，或者是所谓的第四法印的涅槃寂静。
Okay. So now we alive, and then we will see this. Uh, what are the general condition is impermanent in nature, and it is a suffering in nature, and also our living existence is not between the death and the alive. This is beyond this. So normally we are just in the fixed idea about I'm living and then I'm going to die, and so this is idea. So there is the beyond this. This once we understand basic idea about this, then it will teach us to live well through Dhamma practice. So through Dhamma practice means while we are alive, we have a beginning, and then action itself in the middle, and the end, then conclusion itself. So Thoma Thamma Thome Gulung Ani Parki Chawa Tamegi Ani Ngwa And we also say the beginning intention and the middle action and the end, and then dedications. So like us, like this also in our life, we started with something. Most of us, we leave morning, we started just as we wake up, we started worry about things. And then we have not, because of this, and then when we are engaging into whole day's task, it may not be meaningful or fruitful. Then and also we come back tired and feel sad or depressed, and then we go to sleep. So which is normal, normally most of the people, especially in the very hectic life in the West, are more or less like that. But here living in according to Dharma, once you understand those three marks, then we will each teach morning what kind of motivation we have to develop, morning contemplation in daily mindfulness practice. So daily we have to be aware, and what kind of we have to develop a habitual pattern of waking up and develop a morning, what kind of practice we need to put into. So morning contemplation, reflecting on the precious human rebirth, very important. Instead of complaining, worry about all the day's lives and yesterday's experience, instead of that, we really appreciate our precious human rebirths. So precious human rebirth, especially in Buddhism, of course, we say precious human rebirth, there has 8 freedom and 10 endowments, like that. So this, if you go in detail, then might be it's helpful. But in the moment, at least you reflected on, oh, I'm not deaf, I'm not mute, I'm not handicapped physically, I'm not mentally challenged. I'm not live in the very remote area where they have limited resource, even they don't have a basic necessary of the life. So I have this, so like be positively recollecting all the things that you have in your life and appreciating them. And then this precious rebirth, what you want to do. So reflecting on the precious human rebirth, especially yourself. I'm still alive, many of my friends have not met life like what I spent. Like you are 50, 60, 70. Many are not able to live that long. So this reflection of precious human rebirth is very important at the morning. When you have started building this, then you will appreciate a lot of appreciate, and joy will automatically comes rather than worry about other things, eatable, other things happen in our life, especially negative things. Then also, if you have this kind of precious human rebirth, is this fixed or permanent? Is this a certainty? This lasts forever? No, it's not going to last forever. It will change, the change in nature, impermanent nature. Then, and it's also change in permanent nature it's teach us to look at it as uncertainty. There is no guarantee that this will last long for until the end. It's not about that. The death may come anytime. Therefore, while you're living, use living as a, look at it as like how you live meaningfully, one thing. Second, how you prepare for your death. So, and it also teaches us to not wait, because it's uncertainty. If it's uncertainty, you cannot wait. If there's a certainty, then you can say, oh, this, up to this, I will do this. Up to this, I will do this. Nobody can give a certainty in your length and duration of life. So therefore, moment you wake up, you must create a positive thinking and started doing something which is meaningful for you, and meaning something, instead of getting worried about a future and past experience and future projection. It's very important for us to see the life's uncertainty and use it more positively and meaningfully. Then, so this, if you know you have a precious human rebirth, you know that this is uncertainty, what you do? You set up intention, good motivation to use your precious human rebirth for a meaningful livings. Meaningful living, if you meaningful living, and then comes this now meaningful living, and then if you reflect on this, the mindfulness of activities. Now, when you reflected on those at the morning, you set these good intentions by understanding that you have a precious human rebirth, and precious human rebirth is uncertainty. It is not certainties. If uncertainty, especially uncertainty of your death, reflect on this, and then you set good motivations to do what? To bring awareness into daily life tasks. Whatever you do office work, you are your self-employed, whatever. Even you are self-employed, you're doing this for your family. At least you think about, oh, my family, I'm so lucky, I'm so fortunate to provide the resources and well-being of my family. And then if you do for government or you for larger jobs, corporate jobs, and then you can project, oh, even though you get paid, but you can say, oh, I am so lucky to help and do the job for well-being of the others. And then this daily task, even like in Buddhism we say, even you clean your house, project it as to cleaning the generally in cleaning your, in every houses there's a shrine rooms. So basically your house is your Buddha's palace or Buddha's mandala, or in some like Vajrayana we projected our house while you practicing the deity yogas. Then you projected your house as a mandala of the deity or the palace of the deity or pure land of the deity. So while you are cleaning your house, you can project it as you cleaning the cleaning the pure land. I mean, cleaning the temple or cleaning the mandala. In the sense, also you project that you creating the mandala, and then you to attain this creating your mandala, you also cleaning yourself, your body, speech, mind, cleaning your impure body, speech, mind. So while you're sweeping, you also imagine that you are sweeping your afflictive emotion, negativities, or negative karmas to attain the mandala or attain the pure land or attain the Buddha's enlightened body, speech, mind. Like so, this is just to give an example of task. So every task in Buddhism, one good thing about in Buddhism is every action that or every task you are taking, whether it's a paid job or whatever, you can transform them into the Dharma activity or transform them into the virtuous action or transform them into the merit. And second thing, appreciating simple moments, because normally we the joy or the happiness can create it from the mind. We can create it. So even the simple moment, if we understand the impermanent nature and suffering nature, and then we can appreciate it every moment, simple moments. If we learn this, then there is less complaining in our life and its situations. And normally we waste, instead of appreciating the life, even the simple moment we can appreciate, but instead of that, we will waste most of 90% of our object of joy will we waste for object of misery, object of unsatisfaction, object of suffering. And then if you learn this, then living with a gratitude and purpose, purpose. Oh, what is the purpose? Sometimes people especially in the West and the younger generation, we have this crisis called midlife crisis. So midlife crisis, when you see, I encounter with a lot of youth, especially, they say they got depression, and then they say, oh, life is meaningless. There's no purpose. There is no meaning in life. And so, and especially sometimes in the West, we ask, what is the purpose of life? Oh, it is $1 million question. They say like this. But it's in Buddhism, when you understand this, your nature of your existence, and then it's not million dollar questions, and it is not about, we know it's a purpose of life is to become happy. To become happy in the sense, so how you can, purpose of life is, how we prove that the purpose of life is to become happy. From the biggest animal to the smallest animal, they don't want the suffering, they want happiness. Automatically, if there's a cold climate comes, they always wanted to seek for the warm. If there's a very hard climate or something unpleasant things happen, they wanted to escape that and try to find in the better or more comfortable places. This automatically show us that. And also, when we reflected over life, we raise a kids, and then we educated, and then we find a job, then we love the life. Everything we do, consciously, unconsciously, its main purpose is to become happy. So this shows that purpose of life is to become happy. So if you become happy, then it's question rise. Happiness is not about the external resources. It is about creation, from the creation created from the internal. The happiness just come. Happiness is the experience of the mind, and then if it is the state of the mind, the happiness is the state of the mind, then the external resources is maybe the contributing factor, some components to create the happiness, but it's not last long. It's a projection of happiness come from within. Therefore, we will learn, how should I create it from within? Therefore, we will learn how to take care internally. Then it's also teach us to how to take care of our emotions. Like psychologists, they put this management of emotion. And spiritually, we say the cultivation of the virtuous, or cultivation of familiarization of our mind towards the positive thinking, virtuous thinking. And so this teaches us to living with a gratitude and purpose. And then in the evening, now evening, okay, we have finished all the day job and we're very tired, and mostly we will complaining and worry and all this, but examining the daily actions. So this teach us, and also if we are training to not go our mind into negative things, because physically you are exhausted, you are tired, you use your energy in daytime, especially sometimes you are very difficult with the people who are working with you, your colleagues. But when you examine this, you'll teach yourself, train yourself to not think in these ways. Your action, okay, what I have not done correctly, my actions, especially body, speech, mind, action not about the task itself, but about our body, speech, mind. So examining them is like you are scanning your mental, physically, verbally, what are these negative things. If I create it, I wanted to change. This gives us to a change. If something good, then you really rejoice and appreciate. In Buddhism, also rejoice is one of the most powerful tool to accumulate the mass marriage. And then acknowledging the impermanent nature. So say if you have a hard time and you have something make mistake, this is it's existing nature is impermanent. So if I something done good, I need to maintain this and develop this in further. And if something I have done terrible, mostly you remove and regret, and you get hate yourself, you angry with the other people. Oh no, it's impermanent. Today happen like this, tomorrow it not be same like this. So it teach us to see more positive thinking. Prepare for sleep as well, small death. So this is also my teacher, one of my teachers used to tell me that death is in every day. The most powerful of sleeping is for practice the death and dying. So death and dying practice comes through and very useful in our daily life is before you go to sleep, you pretend to dying, and then is also you use the dying process. So this is a very good opportunity. If you do this for entire your life, when a death comes, it becomes so natural for us. Okay, this is and just I'm going to just go quickly through those this, and then those who have already learned about Buddhism and you already have go through classes, you will understand, and then this will be reflected, and this is just a simple point. But in general speaking, and if you have these foundations, and then if you go into Lamrims and other Buddhist philosophy, you can go into deep philosophical thinking, and then it will be you can explore and train yourself into more detail. Okay, so when you have reflected this in your daily living, like intention is very important at the beginning, and sometimes we say 3 noble thoughts, Thambasum. 3 noble thoughts at the beginning. Your intention is to cultivate it, good motivation. Whatever you want to do today, I wanted to do through benefit all mother sentient, to benefit for all the mother sentient being. Generally, we develop a bodhicitta mind. Bodhicitta mind is a mind that wanted to become Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. That's beginning intention. And actual engagement, whatever you're perceiving in your perceptions, all the things that you see, don't project this as a fixed phenomena, fixed identity. This is just a raise in this form, in the form of dependently, this all arise in my perception. Dependently, all this arise. This is not fixed. They are not independent. They are lacking of intrinsic nature. So here it's an opportunity to the middle. It's everything middle. Instead of just attached with the idea of fix, you can develop a strong sense of lacking of independent existence. So here you can practice the mindfulness and practice the emptiness or the no self. In the end, you dedicated these merits for all sentient beings, merit to become enlightened, to benefit all sentient beings. Your merits will dedicate it for all the sentient beings. On this will be sentient being until they become enlightened. So the number of object of dedication is immeasurable, and duration is until they become Buddha. So it's endless. Therefore, it become also your dedication become noble and it's become very powerful. So noble projection, noble intention, and noble dedication. So when you live with this kind of principle in daily life, it will bring a lot of changes in you, changes for better, changes for more spiritual. Okay, so this is one thing. And then, okay, yeah.
好，接下来我们来谈要如何将刚刚所说的三法印运用在我们的日常生活中。那我们是在一个成佛的状态嘛？那我们通常在佛教的修持里面会提到初、中、后三世。那首先初呢，指的就是调整动机；中指的是一做正行的修持；那末呢，也就是后呢是回向。所以呢，通常我们常做的一天的行程大概是这样讲，我们就是早起，然后早起就开始担心昨天，然后又担忧明天，然后呢，然后我们就去白天正行的部分，我们就去工作，然后工作了一天，工作了一天之后，晚上回来就准备要睡觉了。那要睡觉的时候，可能回到家的时候觉得身体很累，然后又觉得可能工作上不如意，感到沮丧。然后再来呢，就开始打算要去睡觉了。那这个呢，这种繁忙的生活方式呢，其实就是我们现在就是西方很常见的生活方式。那我们要如何把刚刚讲过的那个三法印，运用在我们这种平常这种已经像是一种惯例型的一种生活方式之中呢？那首先在早上起床的时候呢，我们要去想我们的 这个人生，就是现在已经获得的这个人生是非常的宝贵的。那我们能够呢早上去思维说，就是早上先去调整我们的动机。我们的人生宝贵呢，在经典里面有提到说八无暇十圆满等等。那我们在这里呢，不一定要就是讲的那么细，但是我们可以至少可以去想到说，我今天醒来，我没有死，我还活着，而且我是五根俱全的，我没有肢体上的残障，或者是我也不会说，我也是看得到东西，然后能够说话。然后呢，我没有住在一些偏远，然后资源缺乏的地方，所以呢，一早起来就可以，让自己有着比较正面的想法去过今天这样子的生活。然后呢，因为并不是每个人都能够这么幸运的，能够在今天早上这样健康的醒来。有很多的朋友可能不一定是活到50岁、60岁、70岁、80岁，不管哪个年纪死亡的人都有。所以呢，我今天早上能够这么快、这么健康的醒来，其实是非常应该要为自己感到非常的幸运的。然后，因为呢，我们刚刚有讲到说，一切法事，就是事物是无常的。然后我现在身上，我今天可以早上这么健康的醒来呢，可是我不确定我哪一天会死，或什么时候就会死。因为死亡是不确定的。那我不能说哦，等一等，我不要死，这是不可能的，或者是哪件事我不要等一下再做，因为我可能要等一下怎么样怎么样怎么样。可是我们永远都不会知道说我们会不会下一秒就死亡了。所以呢，趁自己还活着的时候，不要把心思专注在哦过去已经发生的事，或者是未来还未发生的事，而是要去想着当下运用我现在有的这一个暇满的人生，珍贵的人生，如何去使得我活着的当下是有意义。那在日常生活中去训练自己是有觉知的，保持着觉知，然后去想着呃这些良善的事物，然后带着这样子的心态去开始做一天的工作，不管自己是自雇的人，或就是自己有生意的人，或者是私人企业或者是政府的员工。我会想的，我今天去做这样子的工作，其实有帮助到他人，甚至呢，至少有帮助到我自己的家人，因为我的工作使我得到了一份薪水，然后我可以支我的家人。那最重要的呢，就从佛教的想法来说，那其实应该要想着，我是要为了利他而去从事而去开始或去做我一天的生活。因为在佛教里面，每一件事情都是可以是有意义的佛法的修持。就拿打扫房子来说好了，那去打扫房子呢，可以想着我要打扫的这个地方、这个房间、这个房子，它其实就是佛龛。或者呢，在金刚圣的修持里面，在金刚圣的本尊云觉的修持里面，可以想着我要打扫的这个地方就是本尊所居住的无量宫曼达拉。那在打扫清除掉这些灰尘或脏污的时候，就像是去清除我心绪中三门身语意烦恼或恶业一样。那希望打扫之后，这干净的空间就能够像佛陀的净土。然后呢，我的身体这些带有烦恼跟恶业的身语意，就能够清净的如同日后要成佛的三门的身语意一般。所以呢，每个我们每天日常生活的行为，都可以在佛教的修持方式中，透过佛教的修持，使得我们日常生活中的身语意的这些行为，都可以转为佛教的修持，而且可以成为我们累积福德资粮的一分。那我们也要记得说，每一刻都是在改变的，所以呢，我们可以去想着每一刻其实都很简单，然后去珍惜每一刻，能够这样子有意义的过生活。 否则呢，根据调查指出，其实90%的时间，人们是想着一些很负面、很不满，永远都是在抱怨的。但是我们要提醒自己，尤其是像西方，我遇到一些人，他们都会说，哦，自己有中年危机，他们不知道生命的意义在哪里。那可是呢，就佛法来说，就佛法的角度来说，生命的意义到底是什么呢？生命的意义就是要快乐。因为呢，就连最小的那些虫子、蚂蚁等等一些弱小的众生，他们也都知道要离苦得乐，他们本质上很自然的就会去逃离痛苦，然后去追求快乐。例如说，我们可以看到冷的时候，这些小动物、小虫子，它们也会去寻找一些让它们不会冻死的地方，会温暖的地方，或者他们的居住的环境有危险，是不好的居住环境的时候，他们也会想办法要搬到比较好的地方。所以呢，人也是如此。如果其实不管是有没有意识或无意识的，我们在做日常的生活行为，其实我们也都是在往着趋乐避苦的方式来做。但是呢，快乐要从哪里来找起？快乐主要可以从哪里给我们？外在的某些资源，外在的某些物质，也许可以给我们快乐，但是它只是一些短暂的因缘而已，它不能持续太久。所以我们要去了解到说，真正的快乐是来自于我们心理的状态。那我们心里的觉知能够把事情视为正面的话，那我们的心才能够真的感到快乐。那这个也符合心理学上现在常说的一些像情绪管理这样子的概念。那其实，在佛教里面呢，就是让我们的心里去想着，去有正面的思考，以及有道德的去思考。那在过了这样一天之后呢，我们晚上回到家，那一般人的生活可能就是晚上回到家，又抱怨今天的工作哪里不顺利，跟同事怎么样，然后心里不愉快，然后身体也疲惫。可是呢，我们如果要做佛教的修持，我们应该要训练自己去想着我今天的三门身语意是否有不好的地方，或者是我心里是否有什么样坏的念头。那如果我做的不好，那因为一切是无常，那我今天做的不好，明天可以不一样，那就可以不用再去对于已经发生过的事情还执着着抱有着那样的情绪。所以呢，呃，晚上的这样子的思维呢是非常重要的。那接下来到了要睡觉的时刻呢，就想着，我就假装我接下来要做一个小小的死亡，我好像准备我要去死一样。那对于已经有一些佛学基础的同学来说，也许刚刚讲的这些呢，其实我是很快速的讲过。那如果大家有一些佛学基础，去看一些道次第的书，像广论等等，其实可以有更深的了解。那但是呢，就我今天要讲的，从刚刚讲的三法印结合到我们的日常修行来说呢，那其实就是三个主要的要点。第一个就是早上醒来要调整好动机，我是为了利益一切有情而过我的生活。那这样子的利益一切有情的心呢，其实就是我们我们要去培养出菩提心的一种方式。再来呢，第二个就是在日常生活中要带着觉知去过生活，也就是呢，要去想着一切事物呢，其实是观待依存的，不是没有一件事情是它可以不用观待依赖其他事物就可以独立存在的。那有了这样子的想法之后，其实可以断除很多的执着，那这样子呢，会让我们的心智更加强壮。然后呢，去想着，我其实是不存在的。然后最后呢，在第三个步骤，也就是回家要准备休息跟睡眠之后，把我今天所做的一切善业呢，都回向给如母有情。那因为有情无量，那佛也无量，所以呢， 做这样子的回向呢，可以累积无量的功德。那对于自己所做的恶业，一样要做随喜，因为随喜呢，也是在佛教的修持里面非常有利的一个善行。That's it.
Actually, practically, of course, in spiritually we have many different level of practice, but in generally, so to develop this kind of living while we're living, we have to in the morning and while we are in day life actions, and then evening what we reflected, and in the beginning, in the middle, and the end. The noble to develop three noble thoughts are very important. And now when we are alive, and then also this living ethically is very important. So what it means, living ethically, is this I just wrote 5 perception. This 5 perception is not the same like the 5 lay precept. This is like generally give us the more practical, like, abstaining from harming living beings. So here, this is one of the most principle as a, like Buddhism, Tewa Mewa. It's very, very important. So this Tewa Mewa, not harming all beings, not physically harming. It is not intentionally, verbally not harming. So this is very important to be mindful whatever your action is not harming any beings, living beings, not human beings, also all the living beings. So in this, when you develop the intention to living a meaningful life, it's also not harming, it's including you also, not harming yourself. So not harming, if something negative you think about in your mind and saying some negative from the speech, physically you are acting negatively, it is not harming others only, also is harming yourself. So you should have a compassion for yourself also, because you don't want to suffer. This one thing. Secondly, practicing honesty and truthful is because we are interacting, most of our life is we interacting with the rest of the sentient beings, rest of the human beings. For this to interaction, mostly we interaction with 90% we interaction with the speech. So therefore, speech should be one of the major precepts to watch. And this is very important. Do with honesty and truthfulness. And when it's speech, and then also it's integrated with, you can integrate it with the actions. And then also living with the moral integrity. This will, in Buddhism, we call this practice of 10 non-virtues. This included in 10 non-virtue included this living with the moral ethics is 10 non-virtue for 3 from the body. So this moral ethics is mostly you can reflect it on the three non-abstaining from three non-virtue from the body, and then maintaining clarity of mind, also the 3 from the mind. 10 out of 10 non-virtue, I don't go detail. 10 non-virtue is 10 non-virtue from the mind. It's clear, maintaining the clarity of the mind means here you practice the 3 non-virtue, abstaining from 3 non-virtue from the mind. Speaking with the kindness and purpose, here this will be lead us to 4 from the speech. Out of 10 non-virtue, abstaining 4 from the speech. So this will be included. And then also cultivating virtuous actions. Cultivating virtuous action is practicing generosity. This because everybody needs something. Everybody needs help physically, mentally, or verbally. Especially these days, it's very important for us to crucial is the generosity is not just giving the material things, but it's more like emotional support. In Buddhism, we have this 3 generosity kind of generosity, but it's more relevant day-to-day life is emotional support, emotional generosity. You give a time for them, listen them, and share your ideas with them to make them more comfortable and more meaningful. And then this generosity of timing, giving the time, giving the moral support, giving emotional support, of course, in financial resource. This is very practical in daily life. Somebody needs help, you do that with the generosity. Generosity here, one condition is without expecting any return, because normally whatever we do, we have some kind of expectation of returning. So with this unconditional generosity is without any expectation of returning. This one thing, very practical in daily life. And then also developing a loving kindness, cultivating compassion, building a sympathetic joys, maintaining equanimity. This actually basically Buddhists we call this practice of 4 immeasurable thoughts. These 4 immeasurable thoughts will be detach us from a lot of our afflictive emotion, including jealousy, hatred, and pride. So when you practice this, like wishing all others attain the happiness and wishing them free from the suffering, and also generated the strong sense of the equanimity. Equanimity means normally why we are viewing other people, why we are interacting with other people, or natural inclination of our mind is just projecting them as a distance and closest. Like I like these people, I don't like these people. So this automatically comes. So for this, if you develop and anybody who meet you, you wish them attain the happiness and fulfill their wishes, and they don't want to wish them not suffer, and then automatically you view them as you view them as a sentient being who wanted to be happy and don't want to suffer, or you can view them as one of your mother in one of lifetime, and this will it will help us to become generated the mind of equanimity. We don't normally, especially when you generated loving kindness, all the compassions, equanimity with all other beings, you cannot judge their actions, judge their appearance. This will become an obstacle for us to generate these 4 immeasurable thoughts, because normally what we judge our emotion response based on the actions. Oh, this person is very mean, this person is not good, he is like this, he is like that. Then what happens? It will be obstacle for us to develop these 4 immeasurable thoughts. So whatever the action they might be, whatever the people looks, the appearances, whatever, especially this very crucial time, people hate each other, people have fear of each other, like Tibetan, we have fear of Chinese communists, and then like now you see Ukraine wars, people hate each other, like, so this very crucial time, so much hatred is built up based on some ideology of individual or government. For us to develop a loving kindness and compassion and equanimity is very important. Of course, it's not easy to develop at the beginning. When you are started looking in different perspective and projecting them as your mother, and they have many tools to integrate it. So this is very important for us to also live very meaningfully. Once we develop this, what happens? A lot of negative emotions we can manage, a lot of negative, elevated, a lot of negative emotions. So cultivate 10 non-virtue in general, and then particularly develop this 4 immeasurable thoughts. That's why in Buddhism, every beginning of our prayers, we develop these 4 immeasurable thoughts as a reinforcement for cultivating the bodhicitta. So they have different level of explanation, different level of also thinking about this. But in generally, for save your emotion from the negative thoughts, which makes us suffer, then we develop this kind of course, sometimes we cannot connect it directly if you are first time to hear this, but in generally, the one good thing about a practice, I mean, like when you say spiritual practice is not overnight changes or overnight benefit. It takes time, and also it takes time to not only listening one time or listening 130. We Buddhists call cultivation of 4 wisdoms. Wisdom through hearing, and wisdom through contemplating, wisdom developing through meditation. So this we need, that's why if we do in daily life, we cultivate this. Even the 5 minutes you go through this, and then try to develop. Today you have some understanding, and tomorrow then you can build up, oh, I see, this is like that. You will have explore yourself about these principles and thoughts with the more detailed understanding and experiences. Oh, then gradually over the time, then what happens if you reflected on those things in daily basis, and automatically it will substitute a lot of your worry, a lot of your, let's say if you are retired, you don't have much things to do, So normally when you're retired, when you have, like, you all consumed, your mind was consumed with all negative things. I have happened this, you walking, like, I have these things happen, my husband and wife we have this issue, my children are not good this, or my colleague is not like that, they are jealous, my neighbor is like that, my colleague is like that. We have all this, every time. So this build up, this negative thoughts are build up, and then it's become habitual patterns. And then the moment we project it in our life, we always see negative, 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 negative. So you are basically living more negative, more fear, more worry than positive things. When you learn these things, cultivation at the morning, and you started developing this kind of technique, what happens? This will substitute it to all the negative thoughts gradually. That's the whole purpose of practicing spiritual. Then what happens? This automatically you reduce or eliminate all these negative thoughts. Then peace and joys and happiness automatically comes. So to this, you need to develop your mind to making, Buddhism, we say meditation. Meditation is nothing. It is a mental exercise, mental familiarization with the positive thing. Why we have to develop familiarization with the positive things? Because positive thinking is source of our happiness. It is the source of our happiness. And negative thinking, why we have to eliminate it? Why we have to substitute this with the positive thinking? Because negative thinkings are source of our suffering. Therefore, different technique like 4 immeasurable thoughts, especially this practical, extend your generosity, extend your passions, extend your compassions. This will be, when you have developed this, it will be, your mind will completely change. Your way of viewing your life will change. Therefore, this also give us a confident hope. Now, once we understand these things, then we will also in Buddhism we say taking a refuge. As a Buddhist beginning, we recite the Sangye Chozoma and the refuge and 4 immeasurable thoughts. This will be also give you a very glimpse of understanding, deeper understanding about taking a refuge, why Buddha Dhamma Sangha is so important, and they are the ultimate reliance for our enlightenment, and they free us from suffering, because they have laid all these principles and cultivation of positive thinkings, virtuous mind, because for us to free ourselves from the suffering, especially okay, we don't talk about this. Free ourselves from the suffering, we need a guide, we need some reliance, some object where we can get a guidance. So therefore in Buddhism also, when you understand this, what happens? Okay, you are randomly thinking about good things, and then you cannot be free yourself and you become happy forever. No, you need some guidance. That guidance is also ultimate. The beings who have authorization of guiding us through the path, Therefore, in Buddhism, we emphasize also very important of taking refuge and also for relying on the spiritual guide to find the perfect spiritual masters. So normally in West, we don't talk about this because people thinking that, oh, then now, oh, he's trying to saying something, makes follow him or to make serve him. So they have misunderstanding. That's why we don't discuss this, but it's important for reflecting Buddha Dhamma Sangha, why they are important. Because for me to liberate it completely from the suffering in low realm and suffering in general in samsara or suffering in day-to-day life, I need the guidance. Therefore, if you want to become something else in your life, like say you want to become an engineer or doctor, you cannot be stay in home and I want to become doctor, and then you become doctor. There's no way. What you have to do, you have to enroll in some medical institution, and then you learn through properly by steps, by relying on somebody else who is master in that field, and then you become that person that who you want to become, like if you want to become doctor or engineer. Similarly, in spiritual, you need somebody who can guide you. So this will, when you want to develop those qualities, this developed quality is you just sit there and then it's not about that. It's about finding them from the sources, especially finding them from the sources who have authentic sources. That's why in Buddhism, sometimes masters say, oh, this is important because so and so master have mentioned in this sutra, and this is commentary textbooks, because we are trying to guide authentic instructions, authentic teachings, to develop these qualities, develop virtuous qualities. Okay, so and then now I don't go all of this, but I will go through. For this, cultivate this, then you have to do the meditation practice in daily life. You should also know the meditations. So you will see two kinds of meditations. One is meditation to hold your mind, that is called single point concentration. One is if you want not holding, your mind need to be changed from the negative to the positive. For this, you need to reason, because mind was very stubborn. So for this to change, he need a lot of reasoning. Oh, you have to change because Buddha said that. You have to change because God said that. It's not about it. You never change. So mind need to be consistently in critical thinkings. We Buddhists call analytical thinking. Analytical thinking, keep thinking, then you will be the mind can change. You will able to change your mind. So therefore, you practice this two kind of meditation that you also need to learn. And then for generally, when you have go through all this, then you will realize how I'm going to prepare for my death. This will be also a glimpse about understanding of the death process. Understanding of death process also, you will be I will not go detail. This is a little bit detailed, so we can learn in future, or you can learn with others. Essential practice of death preparation is also very important. And they have a lot of books also about this death and dying in different Tibetan Buddhist schools also. Of course, they might be in Chinese. And then also while you are death process, one of the most fundamental important is to detach our possession and self. So this in every time, especially when you are in dying process, to preparing for death, most of the crucial in our death is we are attached with something, attached with our children, attached with our grandchildren, attached with the family member, attached with your possession, something that you really valuable, So to see them as a practical, see them as an impermanent nature, see them as from the lack of intrinsic nature, then it will be easier for let us go easily. And then prepare for spiritual instruction. So when we are dying, then there's also spiritual instructions that practice for both living and death. So what we can do. So they have a lot of things we can learn. And then also why you are, especially when you are supporting, so even you are practitioner, why you are dying, then you need support. Creation of conducive conditions. And then, okay, so I don't go detail, but they have a lot of things to cover in general. Then particularly when you receive, you study about Lamrim, of course, they have a whole section of preparing for death and the practice of death and dying. And if you practice more on the Vajrayana, then of course they have a more advanced preparation for death and dying. But basically, while you are alive, if you live very ethically and live meaningfully, and death is become much easier. And the whole principle about Buddhist why we are living practice is actually prepare for our future. So prepare for future means when you have to do a lot of purification, a lot of accumulation of merits, what happens, death comes normally very peaceful, and you can die more peacefully. So, okay, so I will stop here, and then I take 1 or 2 questions before we wrap up. So I really appreciate for all your times, and because right now I didn't know much about the Taiwanese way of living and Taiwanese cultural. So instead of saying me so much things, I need to learn a little bit more about what Vietnamese culture and Taiwanese culture in general. So I may take some few questions.
好，我们刚刚谈到了就是初衷如何将三法印应用在日常生活中的初中后3个阶段。那接下来往下看到的下一个投影片呢，是透过佛法善终持戒生活，也就是在我们还活着的当下，那平常呢就要持守这5戒，但是这5戒呢，并不是我们平常在受居士戒里面所谈到的5戒，但是虽然跟居士戒的5戒有所不同，但是呢，基本上的精神是一样的。首先，第一个呢，不伤害生命呢，其实是佛教很重要的宗旨，就是无害行。就是对于任何一切的有情，我们不要就是心存恶意或故意的、有意识的、特地的去伤害他。那这个有情呢，包括他有情，也包括我们自己。所以呢，也不要去伤害我们自己。对于任何的友情都要有慈悲心。那我们自己当然也不应该要去伤害我们自己，因为我们也是想要快乐，不想要痛苦，想要趋乐避苦的友情之一。那接下来呢，第2个是要修持诚实跟守信用。那也就是说，要保持自己的话语呢是诚实的，是真实的。那一般来说，我们跟人与人之间，就是我们跟其他友情的互动呢，90%是靠着言语。所以呢，我们要注意自己的言语是否是有信用的。那在这个保持诚实、守信这里呢，还有最后的言语慈善有益这里呢，其实都可以帮助我们避掉语的4个恶业。那接下来在第3个维护道德的操守这里，那这里就是要我们做个有操守的人，还有保持心灵清明。心灵清明这一点呢，可以帮助我们避掉义的恶业。也就是说，在2、3、4，就是这5戒呢，其实是总体来说呢，可以帮助我们避免掉自己去造作10恶业。然后再来往右边看到那个培养功德的部分，特别是第1个修行布施。那在佛法里面呢，会特别提到3种的布施。那但是在现在这个现在这个生活中，我们其实要注意的是远超过于财务布施，特别是情绪上给他人的支持。也就是我们愿意花时间去聆听他人的心声，愿意花时间听他人跟我们分享。那这种情绪上的支持呢，反而是我们在这里练习布施的时候，这种愿意 大方慷慨的心态，在日常生活里修习的布施，特别要注意跟强调的部分。而且很重要的一部分呢，是我们的布施需要不期待回报，就是我们不要期待我们布施了他有情之后，然后对方会回报我们什么，请不要抱持这样子的心态。那接下来的发展慈心、培养悲心、建立喜心、保持舍心呢，其实就跟我们平常会在念诵的三皈依之后会念到的四无量心很有关系。那其实就是去培养慈无量、悲无量、喜无量跟舍无量。那去培养这四无量心呢，他们呢其实是能够帮助我们去发展出菩提心的重要因之一，也可以帮助我们去消除掉嫉妒、嗔恨跟骄傲、傲慢的这样子的负面的情绪。而且在培养四无量心的同时呢，我们希望他人好的时候呢，我们需要去培养一个平等舍的心，也就是说，不要把他有情依据亲疏远近来分。我比较希望某些友情有能够得到快乐，能够离开痛苦，而比较不希望某些友情离开痛苦获得快乐，而是要不分亲疏远近，平等的去对待所有的友情，不要抱持着执着的希望所有的友情都能够获得快乐，然后离开痛苦。然后一切的友情对我们来说都要是我们能够平等看待的，不要是因为他们的长相或他们的行为就去觉得说啊这个人怎么样怎么样，那个友情又怎么样怎么样，而去对他们有嗔恨或是恐惧。那这样子的情形，因为亲疏远近而造成很多的烦恼或困扰或一些糟糕的事，我们已经看到很多的例子，例如说，藏人可能会害怕中国共产党，或者是呢俄乌战争，因为一些嗔恨怀疑而爆发等等。那这其实是上层的人们的一些意识形态的缘故，可是却导致这些悲剧发生。但是如果我们能够以爱和关怀跟慈悲作为开始，然后不分亲疏的投射在一切有情身上，那由我们作为起始点，我们就可以让自己的生活过得有意义，而且可以步调，就是保持着这些正面慈爱的心态或情绪，就可以使得我们心绪中的负面情绪逐渐消除。那当然呢，修持佛法不会一夜之间就让一个友情改变。那所以这些效果或者是这些情绪的改变是需要时间的。所以呢，佛法里面会提到三种慧，例如说闻所成慧、思所成慧跟修所成慧。所以首先要多多的听闻，然后根据听闻的内容做思考，然后实际上去实修。那今天修个5分钟，那明天再修个5分钟，每天都多让自己的心态更开阔一点，然后每天跟每天呢都能够随着时间的累积更深入一点，然后不停的去反思，这样子呢，我们的心态呢就会有所改变，有所进步。那有些人呢，可能因为退休的缘故，那其平时没有什么事情做，然后就把自己的整个思绪都投入在负面的情绪之中，然后一直想着哦，我的子女怎么样，我的孙子孙女怎么样，我之前的同事怎么样，我旁边的邻居又怎么样。那整天都把自己的生活活在一个负面的状态之中，这种想法变成一种习惯之后呢，那常常人生之中，他的剩下的这些人生之中，就永远充满了恐惧跟担忧。像刚刚所讲的一样，早上起来先禅修这些正面的想法，那心里也可以变得比较平和，然后也会逐渐的变得比较快乐。那些 负面的情绪呢，就可以被这些正面的情绪逐渐的代替。所以呢，我们日常生活中如果能够去修学这刚刚所讲的那样子的四无量心呢，其实会让我们的生活变得更有意义，然后都去对着他们抱持比较乐观或期望他们好的想法，对于自己的未来，就是对于自己的接下来的人生，其实也会更有希望，更有信心。那我们在提到佛教的时候，很重要的时候会提到，例如说我们一开始上课就会念皈依发心。那其实呢，很多人呃他们就是我们在佛法的学习，为什么一开始要提到皈依发心或皈依的部分？那如果给西方人听到，他们通常会觉得说，哦，好像是这个人是要当一个教主啦，需要徒众啦，然后要我来服侍他啦，要我来跟随他等等。可是其实佛教提到三皈依是有它的原因的，因为呢，三宝呢其实是要开始我们还没有走过的路，而这些路呢，他们已经走过，所以他们告诉我们这些路怎么走。就像我们一般生活中，如果我们期望的要当个工程师，想要当个医师，我们也会需要去学相关的领域，去相关的大学科系学校。然后跟着这方面领域的大师学习，而不是自己在家里自己去想说，哦，我希望我可以变成医师，希望可以变成工程师，然后每天发愿就可以做到的。好，那最后呢，就是呃，大家想要了解的部分呢，也可以就是去阅读相关的一些论著。那在佛教里面，通常我们会很提到说，哦，谁谁谁曾经在哪一个论点里面他写过这个，或者是佛在佛经的哪一部佛经里面曾经讲过这个。因为呢，这个都是之前的佛或者是大师们他们曾经经历过。然后再记录下来的。所以对佛教的修持来说，法源清净很重要，根据很重要，而且有向导，就是三宝作为我们的向导，这也是很重要的。然后最后呢，再提到那个呃禅修练习的止跟观的时候呢，就是呃一种呢就是止住修的方式，就是我们专注在一个所缘上，然后去让我们的内心比较稳定。那另外一个呢，就是观察修，也就是这边的观毗婆舍那。那这边呢要讲的就是说，用分析式的思维、批判性的思维，然后去了解这事情是不是这个样子。那最后还要提到的是那个过程，因为死亡的过程呢，其实了解死亡会有哪些过程会非常的重要。这个对于死亡的时候能够死得更平静、更祥和，会非常的有帮助。那这方面呢，在很多不同藏传佛教不同的宗派里面也有相关的论著。那有些英文的译本，那主要的重点呢，就是死的时候我们不要有贪着，不要有贪着说啊，我的子女怎么办，我的家人怎么办，还有我的什么什么东西怎么办？我们要去想的这些都是没有自信的。然后呢，我们要就是放下这些事情。那但是我们在活的时候就已经照着刚刚所讲的，过的有道德的生活，有意义的生活。那通常其实我们也比较能够达到善终的状态，也就是我们比较能够在死亡的时候平静的死亡。那关于这些死亡过程呢，我认为我相信在道次第等等的一些书籍，甚至金刚圣的一些相关的著作里面都有详细的解释。但是呢，今天因为时间的关系，还有就是我刚还想要了解。 状况，所以我可能就是讲述的部分先停在这里。那接下来就是希望能够听到大家的提问，谢谢。
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh, okay, Pamela.
Yes, over to Lau.
Do we have time for some question and answer or?
There were two questions that coming from someone who is not present today. The first
Okay.
question is during the at the time when death arrives, that the pain of the painful feelings has already dominated the painful period. What do you call them? The painful thing during the four dissolvement, you know, how that dissolves into 4 stages, and that has already dominated the whole consciousness. What should they do? That's number one. That's the first question.
No, can you repeat that the question again?
So at the time of death, the 4 dissolvement, the pain of the during that 4 dissolvement has already dominated the entire consciousness. So
Okay.
what can they do? What should we do during that time? What can be done?
Okay, so for
Can I
dissolution.
do a quick one just to read out? So 有一个师姐是请问说，当死亡来临时，4大分解的痛苦已经主导整个意识，请问该如何是好？谢谢。
Okay, so in the dissolution process, when it is, I think they may be saying the settler dissolution of consciousness, they may be saying what should it, you know, actually at that time, if you don't do the regular practice, the person who dying in this dissolution state might not be recognized and maintain the dissolution, the dissolution practice. They can follow like that. If you just in a regular person who is dying, there's nothing much you can do from that person itself because he have no idea. It's like you saying, oh, if you go to the unknown places without GPS, then you going there and you see this, see that, you didn't recognize where you are until unless you are trained and guide. Okay, if you reach this place, then you have to turn right. If you have reach this landmark, you have to turn left. So this actually the main practice of death and dying, especially in advanced level. This dissolution practice is related with the Vajrayana in the tantric practice. So for this, I think mostly if you are trained, then while you're dying, of course, you manage to follow this. If not trained for general, nothing much can do, it's overwhelming the whole process, and then like a lot of fears and all this lot of appearances appeared, so it's not much helpful. But I don't know, I'm not clear with the question is what you do. And no, actually now while you are alive, we have to prepare, learn them, and then practice them, and then at least in a time when the death process death in the time of process of dying, especially in this dissolution, then we can manage to maintain this. That's one thing. And second, also most crucial thing is before the dissolution, why you are sick and why you are dying, then most important is before you started losing into this the dissolution of the first comes the dissolution of elements. So in general, people, if those practitioner, I mean, like most important before that, before the actual death happens, it is very important to maintain the positive thinking, created the positive condition for the mind, for that dead person, for himself. If we are dying, like say in those we are dying, number one is in the time of death, we have so much pain and so much fear. At that time, it's very important to maintain a virtuous mind is important. And then dying process, I think it's in different level, even I don't know how to say this. Why? Because if you're not trained well, even you don't remember anything at that time. You are just struck with the karmic force, and then your appearance will completely different. You may not recognize those steps. So that's, I think, yeah. Main thing, what you do is, main thing is to learn and practice those four dissolution clearly, and then you maybe have some level of understanding in why we are dying. You will be managed to do that. So that's just depend on our practice. Main thing is practice why we are alive. Hello?
莉亚再翻译一下好吗？谢谢。
好，就是呢，首先呢，其实最重要的就是呢，在我们还活着的时候先练习。那因为呢，一般人来说呢，如果没有持续的练习的话，或者是他不知道怎么去修持的话，那在一般来说，在那样子的痛苦状态，他是没有办法去认清自己在什么状态的。那他没有办法认清自己已经到了哪个阶段，他当然也没有办法去维持自己在那个，就是没有办法去做修持，他没有办法维持。这就像是我们现在去一个我们从来没有去过的地方，而且我们还没带 GPS，那我们根本就不知道我们在哪里。那就像但是如果我们有了 GPS，我们可能可以知道说，哦，在这里我们应该要右转，在那里我们要左转等等。所以呢，这个其实是牵涉到，对不起，其实这里其实是牵涉到就是密圣里面的或金刚圣里面对于就是死亡各种阶段的修持。那如果没有在平常，就是在还没有死之前就去听闻，然后学习死时各种阶段的教授，而且实际上去修持的话，那一般人来说，他在死的那个状态已经进入死亡这个过程里面，他可能是没有办法去辨认出他已经到了哪个过程，跟他也没有办法去维持他也没有办法去维持当下的那个状态。但是呢，有一点是一般人都可以，任何人都可以做的，就是在要死之前，就是知道自己要进入死亡状态了，要维持正面的心态、正面的想法，而且如果平时就已经都是很有道德的去过一生，那在那个当下，好好的去维持自己一个正面的心绪，还有就是或者很有道德的心绪，那这个死亡呢，也会比较容易。就因为要不然呢，就是只能被业力带着走这样。所以呢，重点就是呢，要好好的在未死之前，就先学习，还活着的时候学习练习，然后呢，在要死之前维持正面心态。
Okay, so that's why we talk about this the moment while we are going to sleep. Then that's also very good the best chance to practice the dying process. So you go to all the dissolution state, like dissolution of 4 elements from the earth, dissolution to the water element dissolved to the fire element dissolve to the wind element, and then subtle consciousness dissolve appearance of the white, appearance of the red, appearance of the blackout, appearance of the clear light. So these are before every day before you go to sleep, you go through all this process by imaginary mind. You lay down and okay, now I'm going to die. So this dissolution will, its appearance, your external signs like this, internal sign like that. So you set up this mind pattern. So once your mind train in this, and while you die, before you death, every day you practice, and then time of death, if you're lucky, you are not sick, like terminal sickness, or you become unconsciousness. But mostly, if you have that opportunity, you're dying into a very, like awareness, then you can go through this process. Before your death, you go all this, prepare all this pattern, and then when you actually you experience, it comes natural. From my guess, it's natural, so it will not overwhelm, because you already trained. Like if you're not trained, it's become overwhelmed. Oh yeah, now I see this landmark, this direction, where should I go? It's not about that. Like, oh, okay, now it's happened like this. Oh, I see, now I have to think like this. Okay, oh, now this internal science appears. Okay, now I have to think like this. So they have a lot of things to learn, and this need to be do in daily basis. Especially the best opportunity is time of death, before you just sleep. Just go into these patterns, visualization, imaginary, just all dissolution. Especially when you learn this dissolution, okay, it's going to like this, and then there's becomes so many layers. Oh, you have to think like this, and then if you go in advanced level, also taking all this death and this all into 3 kayas. So there's a whole level of different. The most important is like practice before the death. Practice, especially time of before you go to bed, you reflected on this death process will be very helpful. Yeah, I hope that's what the questioner want mean. Hello.
我先翻译一下，不好意思。就是说呢，但是呢，我们每天其实都可以去做这样子的练习哦。就是刚刚有提到，就是说在睡前呢，我们就是去假装去思维说，我们入睡呢就是一个小的死亡。所以呢，在那个去入睡的时候呢，我们就去想说，哦，去练习就是4大的分解融入。那4大的分解融入呢，我觉得就是到之后正确上之后真的开始上课之后，我再翻译可能会好一点，因为现在我发现我刚刚就是接下来如果就是单纯的照我记得这样讲，我怕会有误导的嫌疑，所以主要呢是在要睡的时候呢，然后就是去透过观想，想着那个4大融入的情况以及各种内征兆的显现的情况，然后这样子呢。如果我们幸运的不是在死的时候，就是在病床上，我们还是清醒的状态，或者是就是在死前我们是清醒，可以去观想意念的时候，然后我们把平常每一晚入睡前去观想的这些能够清楚的在想的话呢，那我们的死亡就会变得非常的自然，而不会是从来没有练习过，然后就是被这些死亡的过程带着走。那所以呢，就是每天练习，就是在睡前把睡眠当做一个小的死亡，然后去练习4大的融入，还有各种显象出现的时候，我们应该接下来要观想，就是这个显象出现的时候，我们要观想什么？例如说黑镜德啊，然后白明啊，显现的时候。那在这里面有很多细的层次，那也会牵扯到说转山身为道用的这些概念。但是呢，就是每天我们都可以透过每天睡前的练习来帮助我们能够善终。
Oh, thank you. Okay, so thank you very much, Lobsang, for translation. Thank you.